Hi guys. I was listening to someone do a video, and she referenced this that came out in October this year. The BMJ. The world has bet the farm on vaccines as a solution to the pandemic, but the trials are not focused on answering the questions many might assume they are. As phase 3 trials of COVID 19 vaccines reach their target enrollments, officials have been trying to project calm. The U.S. coronavirus czar, Anthony Fauci, and the Food and Drug Administration leadership have offered public assurances that established procedures will be followed. Only a safe and effective vaccine will be approved, they say. And 9 vaccine manufacturers issued a rare joint statement pledging not to prematurely seek regulatory review. But what will it mean exactly when a vaccine is declared effective? To the public, this seems fairly obvious. The primary goal of a COVID 19 vaccine is to keep people from getting very sick and dying, a national public radio broadcast said bluntly. Peter Hotez, Dean of National School of Tropical Medicine at Baylor College of Medicine in Houston, said, ideally, you want an antiviral vaccine to do 2 things. First, reduce the likelihood that you would get severely ill and go to the hospital, and 2, prevent infection and therefore interrupt disease transmission. Yet the current phase 3 trials are not actually set up to prove either. None of the trials currently underway are designed to detect a reduction in any serious outcomes such as hospital admissions, use of intensive care, or deaths, nor are the vaccines being studied to determine whether they can interrupt transmission of the virus. Evaluating mild, not severe disease. In a September interview, Medscape editor in chief Eric Topol pondered what counts as a recorded event in vaccine trials. We're not talking about just a PCR positive mild infection. It has to be moderate to severe illness to qualify as an event, correct? He asked. That's right, concurred his guest, Paul Offit, a vaccinologist who sits on the FDA advisory committee that may ultimately recommend the vaccines for license or emergency use authorization. But that's not right. In all the ongoing phase 3 trials for which details have been released, laboratory confirmed infections, even with only mild symptoms, qualify as meeting the primary endpoint definition. In Pfizer and Moderna's trials, for example, people with only a cough and a positive laboratory test would bring those trials one event closer to their completion. If AstraZeneca's ongoing UK trial is designed similarly to its paused US trial, for which the company has released details, a cough and a fever with positive PCR test would suffice. Part of the reason may be the numbers. Severe illness requiring hospital admission, which happens only in a small fraction of symptomatic COVID 19 cases, would be unlikely to occur in significant numbers in trials. Data published by the U.S. Centers of Disease Control and Prevention in late April reported a symptomatic case hospitalization rate of 3.4% overall, varying from 1.7% in 0 to 49-year-olds and 4.5% in 50 to 64-year-olds. To 7.4% in those 65 and older. Because most people with symptomatic COVID 19 experience only mild symptoms, even trials involving 30,000 or more patients would turn up relatively few cases of severe disease. In the trials, final efficacy analyses are planned after just 150 to 160 events. That is, a positive indication of symptomatic COVID 19, regardless of severity of the illness. Yet, until vaccine manufacturers began to release their study protocols in mid September, trial registries and other publicly released information did little to dispel the notion that it was severe COVID 19 that the trials were assessing. Moderna, for example, called hospital admissions a key secondary endpoint in statements to the media. And a press release from the U.S. National Institutes of Health reinforced this impression, stating that Moderna's trial aims to study whether the vaccine can prevent severe COVID 19 and seeks to answer if the vaccine can prevent death caused by COVID 19. But Talzak's chief medical officer at Moderna told the BMJ that the company's trial lacks adequate statistical power to assess those outcomes. The trial is precluded from judging hospital admissions based on what is a reasonable size and duration to serve the public good here, he said. Hospital admissions and deaths from COVID-19 are simply too uncommon in the population being studied for an effective vaccine to demonstrate statistically significant differences in a trial of 30,000 people. The same is true of its ability to save lives or prevent transmission. The trials are not designed to find out. Sachs said, "Would I like to know that this prevents mortality? Sure, because I believe it does. I just don't think it's feasible with the time frame of the trial. Too many would die waiting on the results before we ever knew that." Really, too many would die. The 99.8% chance that most of us have of surviving, even if we did get this so-called disease. And this, wow, this is infuriating. But again, they've changed what the meaning of a vaccine, of what vaccination is. It's not designed to prevent this new rollout of this new vaccine. Is not designed to prevent the spread of a disease, nor is it to prevent you from getting the disease. It's supposed to lessen the symptoms. What about HOTES's second criteria, interrupting virus transmission, which some experts have argued should be the most important test in phase 3 studies, right? Our trial will not demonstrate the prevention of transmission, Zach says, because in order to do that, you have to swab people twice a week for very long periods, and that becomes operationally untenable. He repeatedly emphasized these operational realities of a running vaccine trial. Every trial design, especially phase 3, is always a balancing act between different needs, he said. And if you want to have an answer on an endpoint that happens at a frequency of 1/10 or 1/5 of the frequency of the primary endpoint, you would need a trial that's either 5 or 10 times larger, or you need a trial that's 5 or 10 times longer to collect those events. Neither of these, I think, are acceptable in the current public need for knowing expeditiously that a vaccine works. Wow. Sachs added, a 30,000 participant trial is a fairly large trial. If you're asking for 300,000 trial, then you need to talk to the people who are paying for it, because now you're talking about not a 500 million but to 1 billion trial. You're talking about something 10 times the size. Oh, and they couldn't dare put all that money out for that. They're rushing this through in the least amount of time and the least amount of information that they can get away with providing to get this rushed through for emergency use operation. It's all about cutting corners, but this is something that has been in the works for some time. I would argue that they've probably been at work at this for quite some time, and that's how they're rolling it out this quickly. And I think the public purse and operational capabilities and capacities we have rightly spent not betting the farm on one vaccine, but as Operation Warp Speed, the U.S. government's COVID-19 vaccine plan, is trying to do, making sure that we're funding several vaccines in the parallel. So, still, it's fair to say most of the general public assumes that the whole point of the current trials, besides testing safety, is to see whether the vaccine can prevent bad outcomes. How do you reconcile that? Well, a friend just shared with me on Facebook, if I can get it, and I know this is not clear, but okay, maybe that's a little bit better. This, and I'm not sure where this was posted. It kind of reminds me of some of the stuff I've seen Q post. So I'm not sure where it came from. It says, "I'm an industrial engineer at Moderna, and the other one of us is a process development engineer. I'm sure the same thing is happening with Pfizer and BioNTech. It was hard to put things together based on the small quantities of additions happening in manual step, highly unorthodox for a continuous process production. The explanation we got was highly sensitive trade secret adjuvants being added. Digging in deeper showed how sensitive it actually was. Most people's understanding of this novel vaccine type is that it works as follows: make messenger RNA coding for the S protein, make lipid nanoparticle delivery system, and profit." And let me just say that the lipids are a major problem. If I understand the science correctly from the failed Limerix vaccine, the outer surface protein A, B, and I believe they are lipids. So those did not work. They actually gave the people the disease. So, and knowing that they're using synthetic messenger RNA, synthetic these outer surface proteins, if I'm correct, for these lipid nanoparticles, this is quite dangerous. And I've already showed in previous videos the list of adverse events that the FDA has listed. So, but how it actually works from what we've uncovered, it makes the messenger RNA coding for the S protein, makes messenger RNA coding for a mutant versions of CYP19A1 and CDKN1B in smaller amounts. Make sure that while delivery system 4, 1, mostly ends up in the liver, and 2, most of it ends up in the gonads. 4, make sure form and quantity of additive upregulating line 1 reverse transcription activity makes it hard to detect among legit adjuvants. Wow. Additive upregulating line 1. So let me see. Line 1. Okay, let's see what this means, what this is talking about. Okay, let's see the frontiers in medicine, what they have to say. Frontiers in chemistry. The reverse transcriptase encoded by line 1 retrotransposons in the genesis, progression, and therapy of cancer. In higher eukaryotic genomes, long interspersed nuclear element 1, or line 1, retrotransposons represent a large family of repeated genomic elements. They transpose using a reverse transcriptase, which they encode as part of the ORF2P product. RT, or reverse transcriptase inhibition in cancer cells, either via RNA interference dependent silencing of active line 1 elements or using RT inhibitory drugs, reduces cancer cell proliferation, promotes their differentiation, and antagonizes tumor progression in animal models. Indeed, the non-nucleoside RT inhibitor efavirenz has recently been tested in a phase 2 clinical trial with metastatic prostate cancer patients. So we summarize mechanistic and gene profiling studies indicating the abundant line 1 derived RT can sequester RNA substrates for reverse transcription in tumor cells, entailing the formation of RNA, DNA hybrid molecules, and impairing the overall production of regulatory microRNAs with a global impact on cell transcriptome. Based on these data, line 1 ORF2 encoded RT has a tumor promoting potential that is exerted at an epigenetic level. We propose a model whereby line RT derives a previously unrecognized global regulatory process, the deregulation of which drives cells transformation, tumorigenesis, with possible implications for cancer cell heterogeneity. So, wow. Let me see if I can get that back open. Now, wow, I can't find the paper I was, okay, so that's not it either. Oh, I'm sorry, it was on Facebook. Okay, so they want to make sure form and quantity of additive upregulating line 1 reverse transcription activity makes it hard to detect among legit adjuvants. That's disturbing. Effects from 2 integrated by 4 are recessive. Mildly oncogenic effects in vaccine recipients unlikely to be noticed for many years. So they're going to install cancer in you and you won't notice it for many years. And recessive, but since most of population vaccinated and the next generation female offspring have premature ovarian failure. It coincides with poor people being obsoleted by AI and robotics, so we didn't have to dig for motivation. We've taken precautions, but fear for our safety. So far, I don't think we've raised suspicion, but can't be sure. Not sure what to do. Avoiding taking the vaccine makes us prime suspects for this leak. So someone has come out and whistleblown and told what they know. They were working for Moderna. And that's quite disturbing. So, I'm doing everything I can to try to share with people uh, about this vaccine. And I know most people who watch me. A lot of you have come from Patrick, so you already know about all this. But this is complete insanity. Hopefully we can share this information with our family and our loved ones, and make a stand against this. This just cannot happen. This just cannot go through. I know people are kind of some people are kind of caught up with the whole election thing, but no matter what happens, Trump is rolling this out, and on one hand they think he's the savior, but this is what he's rolling out. He has set this up. So it's just, I can't reconcile that in my mind. Not that I have ever picked a side as far as the selection of presidents go. I think we're screwed either way. So, history shows on the safety and side effects. History shows many examples of serious adverse events from vaccines brought to market in periods of enormous pressure and expectation. Like narcolepsy, that from the H1N1 is wow. Yeah. Okay, so no, that was from 1976. Narcolepsy. Oh, yes, narcolepsy linked to one of the influenza vaccines in 2009. But Guillain-Barré in 1976 from flu vaccines, and the contaminated polio vaccines in 1955. Wow. Finding severe, rare adverse events will require the study of tens of thousands of patients, but this requirement will not be met by early adoption of a product that has not completed its full trial evaluation. Harvard drug policy researchers Jerry Avum and Aaron Kesselheim recently wrote in JAMA, COVID-19 vaccine trials are currently designed to tabulate final efficacy results within once 150 to 160 trial participants develop symptomatic COVID-19, and most trials have specific, at least one interim analysis, allowing for the trials to end with even fewer data accrued. And see that it's set up in their benefit, because all they need to do is, after they've vaccinated people, is choose these 150 to 160 people and test them and come up positive with their test. And we all know about the problem with the PCR test and the amount of times they're amplifying it. These tests are designed to further this agenda. Just like the Lyme disease vaccines, the Lyme disease testing was set up to be fraudulent, to disqualify huge numbers of people that are ill, and make fun of those people, and make it difficult for them to get treatment, classify them as crazy and needing a psychiatrist. It's all in their mind. Even going so far as calling people Munchausen, saying people have Munchausen's, and Munchausen's by proxy, when their children are also injured. So it's well. I won't completely read the rest of this, but I'm sure you will agree with me that this is all quite disturbing. Let me know what your thoughts are. Thanks for listening.